Howdy everyone. So welcome back. In this video, we are going to implement the adding or sending friend requests to other users of the application. So let's just jump in. What we want to do is like if you click on add friend, it's gonna send a friend request to that user, and you will see like request pending and something like we can also add like cancel request and something like that. So let's just jump in. Here I am in the peoples.blade.php, that is the livewire component blade file, and I am gonna add that event on this button. So I'm gonna call a function when you click on this button. So let's say wire click, and let's say send friend request, or let's say add friend. And here I'm gonna pass the user ID. So user dash, I guess you are returning the UUID, so that's why we have to use this. If I go there, as you can see, we have UUID, not the user ID. So when you click on this, it's gonna send a friend request to that user. So let's just do one thing. If I go to that, let's create this function. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna create that function. So function, and this is gonna be with this name, accepts the user ID or friend ID. Let's say friend ID, or let's say just ID, that is fine. And we have the model with name relation, right? So if I go to relation, relation, um, if I search for relation, something like that, let's go to create users table, um, notification friends. Yeah, we do. It's this one. So um, we will insert queries to this. So if I search for the friend model, we have the user ID, friend ID, and accepted it, and also um, I think we might need the status as well. Like yeah, we can check the where the friend request is accepted or rejected. We need that condition, so I'm gonna add that. I think yeah, I'm gonna create a migration for that, like modifying the existing thing. We can create migration for this. So PHP artisan make um, migration, and the migration would be add what should I add? Let's say status to parents table. And also this is kind of a pro tip. In Laravel, when you create migration, you can, instead of like underscore, you can use quotes, and inside that you can add spaces. So I'm gonna hit enter. This is gonna create migration for me. I'm gonna add status to this model. So I'm gonna come to this migration, and here we are calling that, right? So I'm gonna add a status. So dollar table. We're gonna, we can add enum as well as boolean, but with the issue with the boolean is like you have limited thing. What we want enum, like you can accept, you can reject, and it can be in pending as well. So let's say enum, and enum, enum, and the first parameter is the status, like the name, and the second parameter is the array that you want to pass. So let's say pending, pending, accepted. We also have the accepted at, right? So that is also can consider accepted, and rejected, rejected. And we can set the default as pending, because like whenever you send a friend request, that will be considered and pending. So the default is going to be pending, and that's it. I'm gonna add this to the that model is available, and like this, um, like this, and I'm gonna migrate the migrations so that we have this in the database. So PHP and migrate, it's gonna migrate that migration, and now I can start the server again. And what I want to do is like whenever you send a friend request, the status is gonna be pending by default. So I'm gonna go back to the people's component, and here we're gonna do two things, like send friend request as well as show notification, show or send notification. So when you have multiple insertion or multiple query execution, you have to use transactions, right? So I'm gonna use begin transaction, then try catch, and here the first thing we need to do is to send a friend request, right? So I'm gonna call the parent model, and I'm gonna import that. I'm gonna create, and here I'm gonna pass the user ID. Remember the user ID is the user that is sending a friend request. In this case, it's gonna be auth ID, right? So I'm sending a friend request to that user, and then we have the friend ID, right? So we can confirm that from here, like we have the friend ID. So parent underscore ID, and that is going to be the ID that is coming from the parameter to this function. And after that, the status is by default, that is fine. So that is it. Now we can notify that user. So we have the notification model, right? So we have type, message, and URL, and read it. So I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna create notification, import that, create notification, come here. um, I'm gonna paste this thing. Type is gonna be like friend request, yeah, something like this. Request, user ID is gonna be the ID that is coming from the parameter, because we want to notify the user, like like I send, like let's say user A send friend request to user B, so we are going to notify the user B that this user had sent you a friend request. So what I'm going to do is let's say I'm gonna do I'm gonna pick my username, so the auth username, and concatenate that with the message. So let's say sent you friend request, and then we have the URL. Maybe we can pass the current user URL, maybe. um, Read it. The read it is going to be by default, I guess. We have the default query for that. So the URL, for the URL, I think we can pass the this user profile, um, but we don't have that. So I'm gonna do one thing. I am going to leave that as with the hash, let's say, for now. And once that is done, we can also show notification to this user using the dispatch browser event that we have. So I'm gonna do that as well. So this dispatch browser event, we have done that one time, right? So I'm gonna do like copy that. Where is that? We have that somewhere. The create post, right? So where is the create post option? We have component for this, yes. So post media, sorry for that. um yeah, so I'm going to copy this. Also, we also unset the variable, but we don't have any in this case. So I'm going to paste it right here, and this user will get something like you send uh, friend request to um or like friend request sent to friend request sent to, okay. And I'm going to concatenate that specific user username. So as we are just getting the ID, so we can grab the username. So I'm going to create a variable right here. So let's say user equals to user, and import that, find or fail, and then passing the ID. I think we can do that at the top, because if it fails, then the rest of the code will be not executed. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to call the username of that, and that will be concatenated with this thing. So I'm going to add space here, and that is going to be okay. Also, we have to commit the transaction, so db commit, and also we have to roll back if there is any error. So I'm going to call rollback like this, and hopefully this should work. So let's try that out. I'm gonna remove these comments. So I'm gonna refresh the page and let's see. So now if I let's say I want to send a friend request to this user, I'm gonna copy this username and I'm gonna click on it. Nothing happens. I have saved the um this thing, right? Yeah, I did. Um, what should? Oh yeah, we are passing the UUID, so we have to do this. So I'm gonna come here. Um, yeah. So where am I? I'm gonna go to FIFAs, and instead of find or fail, we are passing the UUID, so we can't use UUID as a find or fail thing. So I'm gonna get that user, the first user that matches this UUID. Um, we also have first or pair, right? So we can use that. But for now, I'm gonna use first. And here I'm gonna go the user ID. So user of ID, and then user of ID here, and then this is fine. So now let's try that again. So I am going to um this one. I'm gonna send friend request. Seems like nothing happens. Let's DD the. Okay, so we are calling the add friend, right? So I'm gonna come here. As you can see, we do have that method, right? So um, the ID is the UUID is kind of string, right? So we have to pass a single quote. So I'm gonna add single quote because we have double quote outside. So now I'm gonna refresh the page or hard reload the page, and let's try it out. So um, I'm gonna send a friend request to the user, and that is this one. Click on this and got an error. Username auth manager has an issue with the username. So I'm gonna go to people, and yeah, here is the issue. We don't have username by default in auth. So I'm gonna call that from the auth user object, and it does has auth user references to the user, like the current authentic user object. So that works. Yeah, friend request sent to this user, and that user also has notification. So now which one? As you can see, I send a friend request to this user, but also it again shows add friend. So I'm gonna change that. So the way I'm gonna do that, like we need some kind of connection between the friend and this thing to like identify where he is my friend or not. So to achieve this, I'm gonna go to user model, and I'm gonna create a public function right here, like function, and this is not a relation, this is a normal function. So let's say is underscore um, parent, and passing the user ID. So uh, this will be considered my friend if like I have sent a friend request to this, or he had sent a friend request to me. So like we have the user IDs in both places, right? So I'm gonna make use of this thing. I'm gonna come here, and I am going to return um, friend. I'm gonna import that, and where, and passing the user underscore ID, checking that right here first, like dollar user ID, and like if this ID exists in this user ID, this means that I have sent a friend request to him. And if the friend ID matches or like somehow found in this model, then he had sent me a friend request. So that is something we have to think about. So we have the like double thing, like double condition. If like the user ID, or should I do that directly in the comp over there. Maybe we do need this somewhere else, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do is, like, if the user ID matches the ID that is passed to this function, and the parent ID, that is, um, let's ignore that for now. Okay, so I'm gonna, I'm trying to do another thing with this, but for now let's ignore that. If this exists, this means that I have sent a friend request to that user, but we have to check the further URLs as well. So I'm going to use or where, and here I'm going to pass the friend underscore ID, and here we'll have the user ID, and we have to check if this exists, then that is considered my friend. But also we have to check if the status is accepted, then I have accepted the friend request. So to achieve that, I think I can do one thing. I have to return the status. So to do that, and based on the status we will decide like what option should we show to that user. Like here it's add friend, right? So if I have already sent a friend request to that user, then I should have an option to cancel that request. And if that user have sent me a friend request, then I should have an option to accept that friend request. So that is the logic that we have to implement here. But in this function I just need the status. So I'm gonna return that status, status, and like this, and otherwise null or empty. So let's see if that is going to return anything on that specific user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this, and we are showing the button here, right? So I'm going to add at f condition, and as you can see we created this function public. This is a public function in the user model. So for each user like model entity or object we can call this. So I'm going to call that for each user is print, is underscore print, and this is a function accepts ID. So maybe like what if I pass this of ID, because like we are calling this from each um, object, right? So I can do that as well. So this user, this of ID, but we have another problem. We are not returning the user ID, so we will return that. So I'm going to call this of ID. This ID references to the user ID, not UUID, the actual ID. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use that here because like we might need that for that one. Also we don't have the ID here, so we have to maybe return that as well. But for now let's test that without that. So um if this returns accepted, then I should do something. So we have the enum the right, so there should be accepted, rejected, or pending. So if it is let's do pending, then go ahead and add show me a button to cancel request. So I'm gonna cancel, and we can use the end if. So else if, right? So else if um, if the, I'm gonna call the same method. So if it is like um, accepted, then what should we like? We if it is accepted, then we can show like unprint maybe, or if it is rejected, then we don't have to show anything. Yes, that is what he had. Like if you reject someone, then you should not be able to, like he should not be able to send a friend request to you again. So if it is reject, I think we can like filter the rejected ones, like not like but again we need that somewhere somehow. So maybe like if you reject someone and he sends you a friend request again, maybe you accept it at that time. That is also the possibility. So we're gonna do that. What I'm going to do is add another condition. If it is rejected, then like resend, maybe resend request. Or what if I show rejected, just like a rejected button and you can't click on that button. But I'm gonna go for that one. I'm gonna show you rejected. Like we can add condition, like if it is rejected, then you can resend the request to remind that user like I'm this one, I'm someone. Also we can like resend, and also we can show like rejected, and you will not be able to resend a friend request. I think we can do both of them, but I'm changing my mind. Let's say resend. Rejected is fine. Okay. Um, so now let's do the do something for the last one, that is accepted. Accepted. And if it is accepted, then you have to do nothing, just display already print or something like as we saw like a red button that is print, so we're gonna display that print. And also I'm gonna end the loop, end if. I'm gonna format this. Also we have to change the colors and call different methods. Also we don't have to call any method here. So I'm gonna remove this. And if it is rejected, then do nothing. We can add the functionality. I'm gonna leave that up to you. And if I send a friend request, then that also we have to add else if else, yeah. So the else will be like add friend. So that is the last one. Add friend. Eh, Also all of them are gonna be capitalized. So that is gonna be add friend. This is gonna be already print. It's gonna be rejected, and that is cancel. For cancel request or something like that. But let's say cancel. Um, and the button is gonna be yellow or something. It is success, so I'm gonna change it to like this one is success. So I'm gonna change it to warning. Warning is kind of yellow color. Already rejected is gonna be danger, and friend is gonna be info. We can we can customize it to anything, but for now let's stick with this one. Also we are going to call the add friend on this one. um, and on this one I'm gonna call like cancel or remove friend. Yeah, remove friend. So now let's refresh. We have an issue here. Status does not exist in the query builder instance. That is this error is from that um, this thing. So if somehow this user does not exist, oh yeah, we have to call the post one. That's my bad. Did you notice that before? Write that in the comment below. um yeah, but I don't see anything. Let's see. Let's do one thing. um what should I do? Status, there is a like record, right? So I'm gonna check that php artisan tinker, and I'm gonna return records from the print model. So print all, because we have only one entry. Syntax error. Okay. Tree. As you can see, user 7 has sent a friend request to user 3, accepted it as now, and status is pending. But why does it like not displaying that right here? All of them are executing this one. So let's see what we are getting from there. So I'm gonna show that let's show that right here, concatenate that and control V. So I'm gonna refresh the page and let's see. Okay, that is interesting. It's returning nothing for all of them. So that is interesting. I'm gonna hard reload that and see if that's gonna work. No success. We know the user 7 has sent a friend request, right? So I'm gonna do that in Tinker. It's better to like debug that from here instead of refreshing and doing things like that again and again. So I'm gonna go about the first one. We already have one record, and I am going to let's do one thing. We are interacting with that thing, right? Like the user print method. So I'm gonna find the 7th ID user and call the no. Uh, Wait a minute. We have an issue here. If I this seems to be wrong. Um, I'm gonna DD this because this seems to be like returning nothing. And if I call this from the 7th user, let's say is underscore print, and it says pending. If I do 1, it's empty, yeah. But for the 7th, it's pending. This means that yeah. So that is kind of interesting. Also, this can be empty because we are not passing the ID here. So I'm gonna attach that as well. Let's see now. I'm gonna refresh the page. Okay. Serve the application. Come here and refresh. And let's see if that's gonna work. Pending, and yeah, that is working now. So that was the issue. I'm gonna remove that. But we still have the issue of not displaying this on the right position. So I'm gonna let's refresh. Yeah, we do have that. Yeah, that is what I am looking for. So also we can add another condition. Like consider an example. If I have sent a friend request to this user and he has accepted my friend request, and I shouldn't see cancel request. I should see like friend. So I'm gonna add another condition here. If this is pending, and the second condition would be like if the accepted as what is the accepted at uh, but let's say wait a minute, can we add this condition here in the user model? Let's do one thing. um, if this entry exists, then I'm gonna check if like I'm gonna check the status. So I'm gonna change this based on something. So I'm gonna add this thing. I'm gonna paste that, and I'm gonna check the status. Also, I'm going to add the next condition. That is the status. The status. If the status is accepted, then it should not say cancel. So if this is that, then also the status is accepted. And I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna come here and paste here as well. And if this is the case, then show cancel, right? So I am going to, instead of like returning the status, I'm gonna return I'm going to return print. Otherwise, wait a minute. I already checked the accepted it. Okay, that is my bad. Let's see what the changes. So now here we have the we already have the condition. So if I refresh, we have now error. Oh my god. Status. Did I call the first one? No. Developers makes mistakes. Yeah. So this is gonna be friend already. So I was thinking about that thing. Now let's send a friend request to this dude, and we send a friend request to this dude and this dude, and that is fine. We send friend request to four of them, right? So now I'm gonna add condition for the cancel request. If I go to this model, we have the cancel remove friend. Um, that is the cancel one, right? So I'm gonna come here and come here to the peoples. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna do one thing. I'm gonna duplicate this. Come here and paste, and I am going to call this remove parent, passing the parent ID, that is the UUID. Get that, find that and delete it. That's how I'm gonna like find. How do I do that? Um, let's use where condition and call the first and call the delete. So that is going to delete that record. And what next? We have to notify that cancel friend request. We don't have to notify the, or we do have. Also, we have to remove the notification, or we can leave the notification. I think we should notify. We should leave the notification because um, this user already have sent a friend request. And also we are not going to display that user, like should we do that? We have the choice to do it. So let's say cancelled friend request. Okay, cancelled friend request, like this user's cancelled friend request, and friend request cancelled from this one. And I'm gonna check that. So I'm gonna refresh the page and let's see how this works. So I'm gonna copy this username and I'm gonna put that in the search box. I'm gonna click on cancel and I'm gonna find it. As you can see, the request is now cancelled successfully. So now we know that functionality works. So in the next video, we are going to implement the profile section. And if you click on this username, it's going to redirect you to that profile. So I will see you there. Thanks for watching and bye bye.